Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts. I'm the host of the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we talk about ways that you can improve performance in triathlons, endurance sports, and most importantly, your daily life. As I'm realizing, as I'm getting older, we're all aging, I want to help you improve the aging process so we don't have to have this chronic fatigue, weight gain, achy joints, bloated belly, headaches, brain fog, memory issues, all this stuff that happens and people blame the aging process. Well, I'm trying to help avoid that for you, as I have shared my own personal story in my book you can find on Amazon called Life is Not a Race. And also you can find the Holistic Method Manual and Workbook on Amazon that has a chapter in each of the 8 elements that we talk about on the show. And I have a new guest on the show to talk today about one of those 8 elements, and that is improving your performance with hydration and fueling. So we're going to talk to Josh Sprague from Orange Mud today, and he will help us learn a little bit more how we can perform better by staying hydrated correctly. So just give you a little bio on Josh before he comes on the show. He started the company Orange Mud to help change the way athletes such as runners, triathletes, and mountain bikers look at hydration. On the personal front, he's a tech and gear guy that spent years racing ultras, gravel races, Ironman, mountain bike races, adventure races, and traveling all over the globe in search of adventure. So let's bring on Josh and learn a little bit more about his story, as well as his purpose and his passion. Let's see if I'm going. Okay, and I'm excited now to bring on our guest today, Josh Sprague from, where do you live, Josh?
Castle Rock, Colorado.
Castle Rock, Colorado, right near what we're just talking about. You just got off a big race this weekend. So we've got Josh on the show sitting in his recliner chair.
Yep.
Hanging out, recovering from a big event. So talk about who Josh is and what you just did on the weekend.
Sure. So I own a company called Orange Mud. So I design packs for runners and riders. And I fortunately got to go off and test a new pack this weekend that isn't even on the market yet in the Leadville 100 mountain bike race. And then subsequently in the Leadville 10K the next day. I'm doing something called Leadman. It's all 5 of the Leadville race series. So the Leadville Trail Marathon, 50-mile mountain bike, 100-mile mountain bike, 10K run, then the 100-mile run this coming weekend. So yeah, I got to have a lot of fun this weekend. Actually, fun isn't what I would call that. It was actually torture.
Fun tortures. What triathletes do, Ironmans, and you do, Hawaii races are just brutal, or all these different places that are hot and hilly, or it's just, you wonder, why do we do this? Why do we do what we do? But you get done and you love it, and you'll sign up again, even though love-hate relationship.
Yeah, I told my wife Saturday after the race, I got hypothermia because we were sitting around, and you put out such a massive effort for me it was 11 hours and 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden I was laying in wet grass. I did the exact same thing last year. I mean, literally the exact same thing. I finished the race, except last year it was raining the last 3 hours, and then I was starving. I'm like, hey, can you get me a hot dog? Because there was a hot dog stand right there at the expo. So she went over and got me a hot dog. I ate half the hot dog, and I'm laying there. All of a sudden I'm like, I'm really cold, and I had to take a hot bath in the shower. And I'm a guy that's I'm like a furnace always. I never get cold. But I got hypothermia last year. And then this year, it wasn't even that cold. It was probably 50. But I was laying in a wet grass. I ate another freaking hot dog, which didn't even taste good.
It was gross.
And the next thing you know, I'm like, man, I'm really cold. So I did a hot bath, a hot shower, and I had to take a nap for a while. But then I ate a whole bunch of copious amounts of Mexican food. So it was all right.
Funny. So I've done coaching for a long time in racing, but I've did Ben Greenfield's Superhuman Coach Program 2011, 2012. We're just starting this new program, beta testing. It's called Keon Coaching, where we work on learning the mind, body, spirit, different kind of biohacks to do for athletes. And it's funny, I just was reading over stuff before we got on the show today, and about recovery and brain health and everything, but just how to improve your vagal tone. And after a race where you're so probably stuck, on a high sympathetic dominance, like how do you shift back and recover and be that parasympathetic state and improve your heart rate variability? So as you're saying, you were lying down on the grass, which I've heard other people say it's good recovery to do, but maybe you went too long.
Yeah. I mean, there's a combination of things. Yesterday was really hard. Saturday was really hard. I mean, the heat this year, there were just a lot of things. I went into this race feeling really strong. I've done quite a bit of racing this year, and my cycling is really on point. And I really expected to take at least an hour off last year's time. And I'm really good with nutrition. I've done hundreds of races, and I'm very textbook with nutrition. But I think because I've done some maybe bigger races this year, well, only one bigger race, but it was quite a bit bigger race. I just felt like my nutrition was really dialed, and I was skipping some electrolytes, and time wise, I was skipping electrolytes, and I just thought, I can just deal with it. It's only 100 miles, but it's a really hard 100 miles, and it was really hot. I mean, it's 27 degrees at the bottom of the valley, and it was 98 degrees in Powerline in midday. And I mean, there was a very big range. It was 6% relative humidity, which hurt. And then the dust was like, I'm still coughing it out of my lungs. But it was just totally stupid. I'm serious. I was so bummed. So when I finished the race, I was excited. I took 8 minutes off last year's time.
That's great.
But maybe excited is the wrong way to say it. I was at least not disappointed, but I had to work extremely hard the last hour to try to reel in time and at least beat last year's time, because I didn't want to get another finisher's jacket with slower time on the second year, especially being more fit. But and I was tracking faster all day, but I blew up about mile 70 because my electrolytes were off, which made my food processing off. And then again, it messes with you mentally too when you're done. You're not satisfied near as much with the results. So yeah, it was just one of them things that, I should be really happy, but I did it last year and I finished and I got the cool buckle. So this year it was really about, and you get in your head sometimes, you're like, I'm going to do 10:30 worst case. I really think I can do 10, maybe a few minutes earlier. And then next thing you know, things go wrong, and it doesn't affect me during the race, but it's more after. It's like, that was just stupid. It was a dumb mistake. It's my own fault. I can't be mad at anybody except for myself.
Do you have a goal time? Like when I do Ironmans, when I was doing them all the time, I'd have a scenario A, B, and C. The worst case scenario, I'm here. Best case, I'm on A. This is my splits. Here's where I want to be. Yeah. So you kind of have to prepare either one, because if I'm just only A, I'm going to be really let down and disappointed that I didn't do what I know I could do what I'm capable of.
Yeah, and I do. I mean, I told my wife and my crew, I was like, I'm shooting for 10:30 plus or minus a half an hour, and I may even go plus or minus 45. And I didn't really expect much plus. I really didn't. I mean, I knew in theory I could, but again, I'm way more fit this year. There's no reason I did what I did. Well, there is an exact reason I did what I did. So I generally have this bandwidth of, depending on weather and variabilities and all these different things, but I don't usually factor on myself screwing myself up. and that was myself screwing myself
the mindset?
up. So, I'm really good about nutrition. I mean, I stopped at mile 70. I just stopped and sat there. I threw up in my mouth and swallowed it around 60. And that was
why do you swallow it?
It was just a little bit. And I
usually throw up and spit it out, not swallow.
I should have, but it was about mile 60 or so. So mile 70, I'm like, I don't feel so well. I shouldn't have done that. And so I actually stopped and I just regrouped for a minute. My belly was off, and again, electrolytes get off and it screws up everything. So I stopped and I just sat there for 10, 15 minutes at an aid station and drank some Coke and some ginger ale and water. And then from there on for the next 3 hours, almost all the way to the finish, I hardly drank anything besides water. And I did kind of correct myself. That last hour, I was just putting in little bits of my nutrition, trying to regroup, and I knew it would pay off. And if anything I could get, because you can't just do that. You can't just not have liquid or with calories. And so yeah, just things went crazy. And then I've been doing this keto thing for I think it's almost 2 months now, probably 6-7 weeks. And I do wonder if the impact of the ketogenic diet mixed with all of a sudden, drinking like
Throwing all that sugar.
this much sugar. I mean, you mix all these bags, you're like, there's a lot of sugar, which normally, again, I'm flawless with, but I threw too many variables into it. First, by screwing up electrolytes, and the second with keto thing, don't even know how that impacted things.
So let's talk about fueling. Is our focus we'll get to is hydration, but let's look at your race. It's a 100-mile bike ride. If people aren't familiar with the Leadville 100, it is also a running race, which is next. When's the running port? The 100-mile run next weekend. Yeah. So, and some people do the 100-mile run and the 100-mile bike. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh, you're doing the 100-mile run. Holy crap. Yeah. So you really need to work on recovery this week and reset, rebuild like now. So you're sitting in your Normatec boots while we're doing this podcast. I know. Yeah. I got elevated legs. I used them last night. I went and had a massage this morning. I'm kind of nursing a little bit of a broken foot, which is another frustration. So yeah, it's the hard part of training for these big type of events. As your training gets to this apex, recovery obviously is important, but sometimes you damage yourself and to push to these limits. And then next thing you know, you finally get to the peak of your fitness, but yet that's when you injure yourself. And then all of a sudden race day comes, and, I was talking with another lead man yesterday, and he was like, cause we had to run a 10K yesterday morning. And he was saying he has really bad plantar fasciitis, and he's just petrified of this run. Here he and I both have done this whole series, and now we're going into a run, him with plantar fasciitis, me, I think, with a broken metatarsal. And that's not exactly how you want to start a 100-mile run. And, for me, I did the same thing last year, and I broke 4 of my metatarsals in the 100-mile run. And, so it just makes me sick that I'm starting out broken, let alone during the race. Yeah. So yeah, not good. It's tricky. Endurance sports are tricky. Yeah, it is. And that's like I do Ironmans usually in the past, haven't for 5 years been able to do them, but it is the whole thing of, staying injury free up to that race day. Like you're doing Ironman Hawaii, you did all these other qualifying races, or your main Ironman race to qualify for Hawaii, and then other races in between. And then you do Ironman. And I've had a bike accident 6 weeks before my first Ironman in Hawaii in 2004. And then a year later, I qualified again. And then I had the same accident, ended up having shoulder problem. The year later, it appeared. It's like always right that 4 weeks before. And it's just torture because you just work so hard for this one main event, and you're broken. But it is being smart. And I've, my book, Life is Not a Race, talk a lot about recovery and listen to those red flags. And what we learn a lot in the biohacking world is how to recover and heal that system. If it's doing cold water, jump in the lake that's cold and do that cryotherapy and all these different things in the infrared sauna and all this stuff. But let's go back to fueling. So as you were doing the 100-mile bike ride, I know my friend Shannon Day did the race, and I saw his Instagram picture of his fuel bags or how many stations you have to pick up your stuff. What is your fuel plan? Because I know we talk about Ironman training here, but what about 100-mile bike ride that you're out there because it's hilly? It takes longer than 100-mile road cycling. What's your kind of plan? So I'm a big fan of Infinite Nutrition, and I can't really fault them this weekend because, like I said, it's my own fault. But I plan on 200 to 220 calories per hour. Generally 20 ounces an hour water-wise is what I consume. As dry as it was this weekend, it may have been a little bit light, but yeah, basically the way Leadville is laid out, you have for the most part 3-hour gaps between you're going to basically refuel 3 times at aid stations, and give or take. And so I had each aid station kind of set up ready to switch out bladders and a bladder and 2 bottles for me. And then I just ran liquid, the whole time. I did eat some pickles about 5 hours in, which was awesome. He had the pickle juice, like Tour de France this year. They had it advertised. I was laughing because I always do pickles and pickle juice. I just love straight dill pickles, man. I can eat the crap out of them, especially an ultra. I've already bought I don't even know how many jars of pickles I have downstairs. And just in case one break, I don't even care what happens. I'm actually going to put them in vacuum sealed bags and have them in each aid station. So I'll personally vacuum seal them here before we go. And that way, it's just going to be awesome. So the run's got a little bit different strategy for me because I'm going to back off on the calories of liquid, and I'm going to focus basically half of
my normal infinite nutrition because I'm going to be substituting with some blueberries, peaches, guacamole, and bacon and pickles. So it worked flawless in a couple of previous ultras. But you got to be careful with how you do it, obviously, with stacking things. But yeah, with most mountain bike races, I'm just, I'm really solid with just running infinite, getting 200 calories an hour and taking 2 electrolytes an hour. I use Carbo Pros. I've used Hammer Nutritions. I've used a bunch, and I find they're all honestly probably about the same. But yeah, and aside from that, I try not to eat any other junk on course. I stay away from the watermelon unless absolutely necessary. I'll drink a Coke. Usually my rule is it needs to be within 2 hours of a finish. I feel anywhere further than that, like I did when I drank it at mile 60, was a big mistake and probably another reason why my stomach turns off.
Spike.
So
spike up and
yeah, especially when it's really, really hot. That's hard. So yeah, like I said, this one didn't go as planned, but all the other races this year, infinite nutrition only, and electrolytes have been flawless.
I used to watch this show. I just finished watching. It's on Amazon Prime. It's Eat, Race, Win. Have you heard of it? It's just like a 6 series, but it's the Tour de France behind the scenes with the chef and the crew and the staff, and kind of it's drawing a blank what team it is. The Australian guy, it's coach, and it's Team Scott, and it's pretty interesting what they eat and how they prepare the food is love, and just how to nourish your body because you're racing so hard, but how you don't want to have, they're even saying, the chef gal was really right on how you don't want too much sugar early on, or else you're going to have that gut bomb because you're going to be on the roller coaster and having to eat all that stuff. Then you're going to have stomach problems and not finish the race. So it's interesting kind of see what the tour guys eat on a bike ride. It's kind of like that book that came out of, I think it was from the Tour de France, one of the writers of the different foods you can rice and different things you can wrap up. But
sure,
I would think mountain biking, are you doing lower heart rate? Do you do kind of what we talk all the time about, the MAF heart rate? Do you pay attention to heart rate? So you're burning fat, or do you all go all over the place?
Yeah. Leadville is a little unique because you're between 10 and 12,000 plus elevation. So that's first. Crazy. And then you have just the simple dryness this week was kind of crazy, and then mixed with that heat, the heat, low humidity, and at that altitude, with less oxygen, it was a weird mix. It really was a weird mix. And that's like what the 9th race I've done in Leadville, so it's not that I wasn't prepared for it, but I think the heat and the dryness of this one was unique compared to all the others. And so yes, I don't know. I think, normally the normal nutrition plan works with obviously monitoring power and heart rate. I wasn't monitoring power on this bike. I do on my gravel bike for gravel bike races, but on this one, I was kind of going off RPE, and then on heart rate, I was paying attention to it, but I really didn't go much above level 2, hardly at all. So I did monitor it, but the one thing I have found at that altitude does really weird things with your power and RPE and heart rate. So I think RPE was maybe a better gauge than heart rate for me. I felt like I was in bandwidth all day. That really wasn't the issue. If anything, I think at times I probably could have been pushing harder. I felt like the wattage I was putting out, I know I could have done more. But
do you feel the difference? Sorry to interrupt. Do you feel the difference of the altitude? Because where do you live? What's the altitude there compared to
6,200? So I was about 4,000 to 6,000.
Do you notice a difference even though you're at elevation?
Yeah. Of course, flatlanders really notice a difference, but ironically, I find if I go race in Estes Park and it's 8,500 feet in elevation, that actually hurts me more going 2,000 feet higher than it does racing in Leadville. I just don't notice it as much. And maybe it's because the mountains are so big and beautiful around you, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. Or maybe it's just iconic. I don't know. But I really haven't noticed it. It doesn't hurt me that much. Of course you go up the stairs and you're winded, but I get winded going up my stairs here in Colorado. In lower altitude. So I think it's just something that once you live at altitude, I don't know if you ever fully adapt to it. There's of course an adaptation period, but a lot of people I know, very fit people, way more fit than me, they still get winded going upstairs. And it's kind of weird. I guess maybe our bodies can only adapt so far. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really felt that I stayed in bandwidth all day, and I never was just gasping hardly at all, other than just when you're up at like 12,000 feet above the tree line, it's terrible. I don't care what you do. It's terrible for everybody.
It's not normal.
No, it's just not. And pushing a bike up a hill at that altitude, it's just not good.
Yeah. So what supplements you're saying, I've always done hammer and I put little baggies for hour 1, hour 2 and have Endurance amino acids and Race Cap Supreme is what I've always done.
Yep.
What's your little formula you do for supplements during your races?
So yeah, pretty much the same. I take a Ziploc bag. So all of my packs, I've designed these shoulder pockets in them, and I did them from training for Ironman years ago. That's why I did it. So I used to use Race Caps and Hammer's nutrition Endurolytes, and I loved them. And then I'm friends with the guys over at Carbo Pro, so I started using their product. And they have it's called Vo2 Max. It's basically just like Race Cap Supremes. And, obviously that helps maybe with some red blood cell count, to just be able to process oxygen more. But what it really, I think, or at least what I feel it helps to do is get rid of some of that lactic acid. And it helps a lot more than just, helping with oxygen consumption. Just like Endurolytes or my electrolytes I use from Carbo Pro, I really feel that it's not just, I think sometimes people get hung up on, it's electrolytes. Electrolytes are already in my drink, or electrolytes don't actually save you from cramping. There's just so many weird sciences out there now that I think are still so unproven or not exactly the best endurance focus that I think people are crazy to not take electrolytes. Because, they work, in my opinion. But again, it's more than just salt. I think a lot of times people think it's just salt, but it's not. It's the salt, the magnesium, the potassium. It's everything you need to process food. And I firmly believe if I had been running my Endurolytes properly, or my electrolyte pills that I take from Carbo Pro properly, I just wouldn't have had these issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it is everybody's different. And I know from doing multiple Ironmans that what fuel works for one doesn't always work for other. What dosage of supplement to take and what food you can eat. So I think everyone needs to experiment for themselves and you figure out what works for you. I know I've tried so many different drinks, and when I discovered, doing more low carb, high fat athlete, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier as I adapted, because I was always throwing up while I rode in Ironmans because so I'm supposed to be drinking 500 calories an hour of this drink or that drink. And I'd just be, my stomach would be all bloated and it wouldn't absorb. So I'd throw up while I'd bike and keep going and just get some water and start over.
Yep.
The thing, and just what supplements to take every hour, I think what works for you is going to be different in a high altitude versus, hot weather and life. So I think everyone needs to tweak it a little bit, and it's hard to figure out what works. But I know one year I took too many and I was throwing those up. I had just like powder coming out because I was like, I got to take this many pills, and they all came up on the run course. So I think it's self-experimentation.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be careful because, if you take too many, all of a sudden your body shuts down also. I mean, it goes both ways. You don't take enough. And from what I found, like if I don't take enough, my body shuts down. You take too many, your body shuts down. So it is kind of a fine line. And you don't want to just have all them pills sitting in your belly. And I kind of hate taking pills anyway. I'm not exactly a normal pill guy. But electrolytes, I always do make the exception. I always take electrolytes on anything over, I'd say 3 hours. I will always do that. The Race Caps or, the Vo2 Max or Carbo Pro, generally same thing, probably 2 or 3 hours. Like for me personally, what I do, I take that Ziploc bag and I count everything out ahead of time. And I have like my electrolytes are a white pill, and then the Vo2 Max are yellow. So I take 2 electrolytes every hour, unless it gets extra hot, and I'll go 3. It's pretty rare I'll do that. And I even kind of did a little impromptu switch on the fly, which was dumb, but I did. So, because I was already late taking them, and I decided to take one because it was like 34 degrees, I think, when I finally took the first one. I'm like, I'm probably not sweating that much, but I was working really hard. So just because you're working really hard and you don't really feel the sweat on you because you're cold doesn't mean you're not perspiring and losing electrolytes. So it was dumb. I know better. I'm so frustrated, but anyway, so I had 20 electrolytes is what I had, and I took 18 of 20. So I did try catching up later in the day, and hence why I probably dialed myself slowly back in towards the end. And then with the Vo2 Max, I take 5 at the start, 30 minutes beforehand, and then I take 2 every 2 hours is what I generally will do. So, and it's pretty easy, but it's, it's a little more tricky on a mountain bike because you don't exactly have a flat road. And especially in Leadville, you're always with people. You're hardly ever by yourself. So you're grouped up, maybe you are on a flat road, but you're grouped up and you're hauling, or you're on single track, or you're on a climb. So opening a pocket, taking your zip or your electrolytes out and like holding on with one hand. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get these, and you're trying not to crash. And, one electrolyte did, I guess I was 3 short because one electrolyte did hit the ground. I was like, well, that'd be fine. So yeah, it's a little bit trickier on the mountain bike. In an Ironman, I've always found it to be a lot easier to do. Cause I also drink every 15 minutes. I'm always looking at my computer, always, doesn't matter what sport it is. And I drink every 15 minutes. And, back in the day, like adventure racing and stuff with a watch, I'd set my timer and it would literally go off every 15 minutes, and we'd always say drink, and we drink. Seems like as technology has improved, like a timer is like complicated to get to work on these.
Yeah, the Garmin watches, I have no idea how to set a timer.
I spent 2 hours trying to make it work last night. And I'm generally pretty technically organized. I guess I need to give it to my 7-year-old. He could probably figure it out. Yeah. But I'm trying to get it to work for next weekend. But given my foot condition, who knows what's going to happen?
Yes. Well, you got to listen to your body. I keep saying this every day. You can say my quote all week long: meet your body where it's at.
Yeah.
Words not better. Sometimes you need to not just listen to your body, or else you're out 6 months. So you got to figure it out. So let's go into, we're trying to talk about orange mud today. We're talking about hydration. Sure. You've raced, and how do you come up with these hydration packs? So orange mud, we're going to talk about what that is. Yeah. And the packs.
Sure. So after Ironman St. George in 2011, I think it was, I wanted a way to carry my fluids in a bottle so I could run my exact nutrition strategy. As you've kind of picked up, like I said, I'm kind of nerdy with running my exact strategy. I've always thought Ironman athletes are very odd in the sense that they are for the most part, the most type A people on the planet. They know exactly what they want. They plan everything out 100%. But then on race day, they're like, cool, I'll drink Gatorade on course, whatever it may be. And I'm fascinated. If you can do that, you're awesome. I'm jealous because I definitely cannot.
Can't do Gatorade.
It's amazing. Well, so for me, I got tired of stashing a bottle and training for that last Ironman. And I just had a little baby boy, and like one of our jobs had to give. So one night I was like, you know what, I'm going to build this pack, and I'm going to start this business. And, like, sweetie, you can run it, and, it's going to be fun. We get to make packs for runners. It's going to fix this problem I've had forever with, I hate waist belts. I hate handhelds. I've just never liked them. And so I made a bottle-based pack that mounts high up behind your back. You just reach back and grab it and drink on the fly. Ziploc pocket, a Velcro pocket on each shoulder. So you have room for your electrolytes, chapstick, sunblock, maybe some lube. And then the back has room for a credit card and cash, wallet, and whatnot for the beer garden afterwards. So I kind of see it as you have this very simple tool to be able to run your exact nutrition strategy. And as the brand started, that was what we started with, is this simple $85 bottle-based pack. It's still one of our top packs by volume. It's been refined a tad over time because it looked kind of crude in the beginning, admittedly. But yeah, it's since evolved to more bladder packs and soft flask-based packs and bottle-based packs, and all with the focus of the endurance athlete, whether it's triathlete, marathoner, ultra runner, endurance rider, kind of, you name it. It's a little bit of everything.
So I was just trying to pull up our screen share if anyone goes to our YouTube channel and watch our new The Whole Athlete podcast channel.
There you go.
Because then you can see, so you created all of these. It's pretty.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. Basically in the beginning, it started with the single barrel. The second went in on the top. And then that pack did so well. And we started having people say, hey, I have a lot of runs that are short. I just run over lunch, but I want to take my wallet, keys, and cell phone with me. And so I made that gear quiver on the far left. And then we had people saying, hey, this isn't enough. It doesn't hold enough fluid. One bottle, can you make a 2? So I made a 2. And then we had people say, hey, I want chest pockets. And I was like, well, why do you want chest pockets? I made it without chest pockets, so you don't have to have that chest restriction so many people think of when it comes to packs. And they're like, well, I just like a chest strap and chest pockets. And I kept saying, well, why? You don't need it. There's no reason. But I made it. And then it turned out it was a good decision because that skyrocketed with our best pack 2 to our number 1 product. And then the triathlete world really was big on the best pack 1, which is a single bottle pack with front chest pockets, because that's really all you need to run a very efficient race day strategy. Have your phone up front, backup, maybe sunglasses, whatever you want, nutrition, and again, everything in your shoulders. And then from there, I'm a big cyclist, as we've been discussing. And I've always told people I love to ride. I like to run. It's just, it's always been, I just don't do as well running. I have to work a lot harder. You know, so many people are like, oh, I love to run and riding. I like it. I'm the opposite. I love to ride. I like to run. And I always tell people that's why I made these packs. I wanted to make running easier. It's the whole goal of why I made these. I wanted to make running easier. So, but yeah, so as the brand has grown, and as demand has grown, you know, we made bladder-based packs for, of course, our running audience, which was at our core. But being the love of cyclists that I am, I of course made sure that it works awesome for endurance cycling. So it's been really exciting to see how it's all grown in, you know, a variety of different spaces.
So do the Vest Pack ones, Vest Pack 1, Vest Pack 2, that has one bottle and then it has 2 bottles?
Yep, exactly.
So each bottle, that's 24-ounce bottle. So, and then the straps in front, they're not coming across, like you said, this, because I've had a bunch of different ones from doing 50K trail running races that, you know, you just feel like you're fastened up.
Sure.
So
yeah, and
this one is just high on your back. It doesn't hit your head probably at all.
No. I mean, if you lean completely back, I guess it could. But and it's funny. Sometimes we'll see people, you know, like at an expo or something. They'll try them on. They're like, "Oh, it hits my head." I'm like, "Well,
do you run like that?
How often are you looking at the birds in the sky? I mean, you don't have to lean back that far." So, but yeah, for the most part, it'll never hit your head. The bottle-based packs are definitely not designed for cycling. There, it will. It's funny. We get people. You know, it seems like every cycling race, I'll see somebody wearing one of our bottle-based packs. I'm like, what are you doing? It's terrible. It's just not designed for that. I would never recommend that. But some people
like ones for the bike?
So basically, all the bottom ones are for the bike.
Okay, got it.
And all the top, well, all of them are for run, but all the bottom ones are for cycling.
Good. So you can get that cycling. I know it'd be good for triathlons, I would think, because you can just, I don't like the fuel belts anymore. I used to always have those. Then I tried the one big bottle, and then I end up carrying a bottle because I like at the aid station, especially doing Ironman in Hawaii, because it's hot. I do a cup of water. I have to have that ice, and then you can't get any fuel in the little fuel belt. So it's nice to have a big mouth bottle to open up and put your stuff in there, because you can never refuel your fuel belt bottles. So it's nice to have a wider mouth.
Yeah, I call them weight belts when I'm doing triathlon, and I see people running with them, and they're all just really hot water. They've been sitting in the transition area all day, and you go off to run, and you have if you have your hydration mix in there, it could actually be completely disgusting. I've had hydration mixes go sour, through heat. But even just with water, no one wants to drink hot water when it's 95 degrees outside. So
no, and if it doesn't taste good and it's all warm, you're not even going to touch it. So then you're dehydrated anyway. So throw it away. I've thrown away many belts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially near the finish line. My husband used to always laugh at me. I'd be like sprinting to the finish line, and I'd just throw off my belt because I didn't want it slowing me down. It's like I've had it for the 25 miles, and I have to get rid of it because it's too like bulky and annoying. But after a while, it just like, get this off of me.
I know. Yeah. And that's the whole goal of everything I design. I always want people to finish a race and be happy you're still wearing it. Or most importantly, you don't know it's there. That's the whole goal. Of
exactly. To not know it's there, not even feel it, I think it'd be good.
Yeah, so it's a good thing.
Which one has little pockets in the front that you can put your pills, and if people do gels, or I've been doing nut butters, macadamia nut, fat ball.
Yeah, it's like the Best Pack one there on the right side of the screen. You can see that one has the elastic chest straps, so they actually move with you. But then those pockets there in the front are great for whatever you want to put in there, especially if you're going more keto and you're trying to eat more real foods and whatnot. That's where they're pretty clutch for that. And then the shoulder pockets are great too, and that's on every single pack, where you can put quite a bit of stuff. If you're a gel person, you can get about, depending on the gel, 6 to 10 gels per shoulder pocket. And then those front chest pockets, you can really load them up. But if you can eat 6 to 10 gels in a race consistently, good for you. You're special.
Yeah. So those are pretty affordable too. That's only $135.
Yeah.
For that. So that's good pricing. That's right.
Yeah.
All that and technology.
Yeah. And everything we do, it's built to take a royal beating. Yeah. You won't have to worry about it wearing out for a very long time. Especially it's been the beauty of our ultra running base and Ironman base is that they put so many miles on gear. You know, I see people are like, oh yeah, I ran 3,000 miles this year with your pack. I'm like, wow, that's, you know, you're freaking a freak of nature first off, but thank you. Because I like looking at those packs and seeing what they look like, and they always look still brand new. So it's one of my pet peeves. I bought a lot of gear over the years. I have a disgusting amount of gear from everybody on the planet, and so many of them have worn out so quick, and I don't ever want to be known as the guy that makes gear that falls apart. So, you know, I truly believe every piece that has been designed, you know, it has my name on it. And, you know, if you have a problem, you reach out to Orange Mud, you just go to our website, go to contact, reach out, say, hey, Josh, your product sucks, and here's why. Show me a failure. You know, I'll always, of course, fix it. And then, you know, B, I'll make sure it never happens again. But I design multiple failure points into every piece of gear. It's paramount in every design is to make sure it will last you seriously longer than you'll probably ever want to keep it.
Now, do you wash it when you're done? Cause I know you get done and things are sticky and slimy and sweating, salty, gross.
Yeah. Hand wash in a sink. You know, I always tell people, regardless of what pack brand it is, hand washing is always best. The danger of a washing machine is the agitator in the middle of the machine. When that thing starts spinning, it hooks onto all these little cords and everything on the pack. And that's a lot of power. It's way more power than it. I don't even care what you put in there. I can't design around that hardly. So, you know, regardless of whether it's Orange Mud or somebody else, I always recommend people to put it inside of a mesh bag and put it on the delicate cycle in your washing machine if you actually are going to use the washing machine. But just make sure it's in a mesh bag or something to keep cords and webbing from getting tangled on the agitator. But the best thing to do, put it in the shower with you and just hand wash it there, or hand wash it in the sink with some, you know, some non-scented detergent afterwards, and you'll be good.
Toxic free.
Yeah. The detergent, you know, like when it smells good, it may smell good like in your house, but a lot of people don't realize that, you know, that those detergents are actually what will irritate your skin. A lot of times, more often than a pack. It's pretty rare if you have a pack worn properly. Again, regardless of brand, although I think ours are better. It's rare it's going to cause any rubbing or anything if worn properly. But I have seen sometimes people, you know, where I'm like, you probably have a skin allergy to the detergent you're using. And it's amazing how often that it maybe takes a while before people figure it out. But especially if you're going, you know, shirtless or a sports bra or something with a pack, you know, it's something you just have to be mindful of. Those detergents, they often will cause skin issues, especially when you're under stress and, you know, long hours out there on the trail.
Well, I've been trying to clean up, get rid of any toxic makeup, face product, lotion, shampoo, conditioner, cleaning supplies, because they're all toxic ingredients. I mean, you're trying to detox and optimize your health. Part of that is your environment and the products that you're using. So you can look at ewg.com. They have an app too. So you can look up, okay, here's what ingredients you're using. You can find out kind of how toxic they are. There's so many alternatives out there. The Myers cleaning supplies, I get that a lot. And there's so many different ones. And at Christmas time, I started making gifts last 2 years with essential oils, and I realized everything takes like 2 minutes to make once you get all the supplies. And so you can make your own, but then I never do it till the next Christmas. Going, it's so much easier to just make a bar of soap. And I did some like air refreshener sprays and soap bombs and all that. So you can look on Pinterest to make your own, or the products you use, you can go check the EWG website.
Yeah, my mom each year gives me, like, I love chapstick, but I lose it all the time. Like I probably lost 2 of them this weekend. I don't even know yet. I haven't cleaned up everything. But my mom, every year for Christmas, she makes her own organic chapstick, and it takes like, she's like, it takes like 20 minutes. I make like 100 of them. So she always sends me a ton of them, and they work great. I mean, it's so, like, I've asked her how to make them, and it's so simple. It's stupid that more of us don't do things like that. But
I know, it's so easy. You look at it and go like, what the heck? And you don't do it until you have to for a gift.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So are you having any, like, next race coming up? We've got, you know, Ironman World Championships in October. Do you have any people that you know that are triathletes using this product that you've seen are going to be competing?
Yeah, I know Jordan Bryden. He's in Canada. He's a pro triathlete. He uses a lot of our packs. He does a lot of kind of hybrid between Ironman and trails. And I don't think he's going to Kona this year, but yeah, I'm not sure I don't know if we have anybody on our team going to Kona, but yeah, we have a ton of Ironman on our ambassador team and just customers that are racing all the time. We had Ironman Boulder here just not too long ago, and Ironman Arizona coming up. There'll be a ton of people out there. We'll actually be there. We're a sponsor of the event.
Oh, good.
And we love Ironman Arizona. It's been great. It's actually, when I launched the company, our first 2 expos, we were in business for like 3 weeks, and we exhibited at Soma Half Ironman in October, and then the full Ironman in Arizona in November of 2012. Yeah, 2012. And the irony was all the people buying our packs. I kept asking them, like, what's your predominant sport? Are you a runner? Are you a bike, a cyclist, whatever? And most all of them were like, oh yeah, I'm an Ironman, but I just do Ironman for fun. I'm actually an ultra runner. And I thought that was kind of ironic because, Ironman, to not take anything away from it, is very hard. Right? So to hear him be like, I just do Ironman for training, I just found it fascinating because, yeah, I've raced a lot of bigger events too for 24 hours and longer, but I've always found Ironman to be definitely hard. Like I think it's because it's so singular. It's just a singular focus, suffer for a long period of time, singular focus, and then you're done. And then, yeah, it's like hard to keep nutrition good on an Ironman event too, between the 3 sports. But that's what really got our push over into the trail and ultra scene. So we really exploded in trail and ultra. And then I kind of worked backwards into triathlon, ironically. So because I saw the trail and ultra being that's what the base was. So I thought maybe I should be putting the focus there. But I do love the sport of Ironman. It's got a special, I don't know, place in my heart because it's really why I started the business. But at the same time, I love dirt. So it's kind of fun to have a little bit of both. But yeah, so Ironman AZ, if anybody's coming out, come say bye. Come say hi. You'll see my smiling face, hopefully a little more recovered than I am right now.
Yeah, I bet you're tired. Do you have an infrared sauna?
No, but that would be really cool.
You get to find one. I have one. I bought one for my studio here, and I'm ready to,
really?
Whenever I move my studio, the infrared, I call it Fred. Fred's coming over to my house, so I can have a date with him more often.
Nice.
And then we have Norm. So I have Norm and Fred in the same house.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of compression. I finally bought them about this time a year ago, and my God, I use them all the time. I actually feel like a total idiot sometimes, or I feel kind of rude, I guess. Like in my hotel, Friday night before the race, I worked at our expo because we sponsor all the Leadville races, and I worked there all day because I love the sport and it's fun talking with everybody. Even though I shouldn't have, I should have just gone and rested all day if I had a lick of sense. But as you can see, I am good at making mistakes, so I'm definitely far from.
We learn from them, and it makes us better.
I don't seem to, though. I've done this so many times. But no, I went back. It's like 9:30 at night. I'm finally shutting things down. I'm in there in my hotel room.
That Norm.
Leg compression noise. Yeah, so
it's loud, but it's good. But I think you have to take care of yourself, especially you're doing back-to-back races. That's a good. Yeah. Another podcast we need to do on recovery because it's, I was just going to finish writing a blog after this is vagal nerve and vagal tone and doing heart rate variability testing because I know my story is that chronic busyness, chronic stress and racing is, you're going to need time to recover, and how do you recalibrate before you do the next event is so key. So testing your HRV in the morning, do the cold showers in the morning at night, and just try to help your body shift back to parasympathetic so you can help that recovery repair, getting lots of sleep, taking naps, taking magnesium at night. We're just saying 500-600 milligrams a night you can take before bed and help yourself recover and sleep. There's just so many different things to do, but
I know
vagal nerve.
That's the crazy thing though, right? I mean, when you really look at it, like say if you lay out all the different types of proteins you should get in a week, the vegetables, the fruits, the magnesium, all your different vitamins and minerals you should get in a week, it's daunting. I mean, it really is daunting. And I'm always researching. I'm kind of nerdy about some of this stuff, and I have been taking magnesium because it's also supposed to help with some bone regrowth, I guess.
Yeah. So calcium, magnesium, taking curcumin, the turmeric, so the anti-inflammatory of what you're eating.
Sure.
So much to it, I know. But I think you have to pick and choose. That's why, just being in these different nutrition programs I've been in, and it's like you can't tell people to have all this because I know working as a nutritional therapist with clients, now I tell them to have 3 things in the morning. They're not used to it, having any supplements at all. And you have to, I want you to take this in the morning, this at night, this with every meal. And, stick with that. And people are like, I don't want to take all those pills. So I think,
Sure.
probiotics, bone broth, doing your magnesium at night is probably good. Having the relaxation time to restore and rebuild and getting that heart rate variability better would be good kind of hacking method to see, okay, what's my HRV score this week and how can you get it better? But
Sure.
how much exercise you can take. But we've just been doing that with Ben Greenfield's program, and it's kind of funny, all the feedback. But I'm not into over supplementing because I think your body can only absorb so much, because I used to do that myself. But I think, taking the essential fatty acids, having more fish to eat this week, and having more hydration with electrolytes, the sea salt, and all that for healing. So I'm going to go write all this down since it's all in my head.
I know it is. It's just tough. And I think like many of us, it's like last year in the Leadville 100 run, I broke 4 of my metatarsals, and I went to the PT after. I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I'm going to do this whole Leadman thing next year. And I just don't want this to happen again. And she gave me all these things to do. And I started doing them for a short bit. I started feeling great. I stopped. And I think that's the way a lot of us are with so many things. I don't care whether it's vitamins or eating, fish 3 times a week. I mean, it's all these things. I'm so good at getting on this bandwagon. I'm like, yes, I'm going to finally execute this. But it is tough because you get down this path of what now? Like there's just more to do in a week than most can do. I guess it just gets all of a sudden lost sometimes. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to eat a hamburger. It's like, everything goes sideways. So, or you travel, like I said, I've been really good for the last 6 to 8 weeks. We've been uber healthy, and we cook from scratch, almost everything. We hardly eat any processed foods, period. Except for maybe ketchup and barbecue sauce, which I love, and maybe boar's head mustard. But it's so good. But anyway, but then going this whole keto route's been a little bit fun too. As my wife's allergic to wheat, dairy, eggs, soy, so we always avoid all those. So it makes cooking always challenging. But I've really enjoyed it. We've been making some amazing dinners. Mm-hmm. But that being said, like I was really good there until like this last week. And then again, travel starts picking up, going to the races. And it's like, all right, what am I going to eat? Mexican food? Yeah, I guess I'll eat a burrito. What am I going to eat? It's the night before the race. That chicken sounds good, but I'll have all those potatoes with it. And again, I haven't been hardly doing any carbs. All of a sudden I pound a whole bunch of potatoes. And again, I wonder if maybe that's why, like during the race, I literally felt my belly swelling up during the race. And I'm sure it was just a lot of calories, a lot of carbs that it just hasn't been used to. But it's just all these things that I think many of us, so many people could benefit from having a plan dialed in for nutrition alone. If you just had somebody give you a plan for nutrition, I think 99% of society would have a better life. But you need help sometimes for people externally to look in. Like it's always good. It's always probably easier for you to give advice to people than it is to do your own self.
Do yourself. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm doing next year is kind of what I'm going to do, more of coaching the holistic method and coaching people online. And that's what my new journey is for 2019 is to do that. Cause I just, all ages and athletes, and to just see people are just so much to do. And what do I do? You listen to all this stuff like, okay, in Ben's program, I just heard all these different hacks to do for my brain health and blood-brain barrier and my gut health and HRV and access. And it's just like, okay, but how do you do it for each person? You have to just individualize it. I think it's so easy. What I did for years and wrote about in my book is that I listened to everyone and I did all of it. So here I am with this big bag of supplements and following this, following that, and just making it into one crazy program trying to fix myself. But that wasn't the solution.
Sure.
So
it's tough. Well, it's like you said, we're all different. It's tough to, nutrition I think is just it's a moving target. Everything I thought I knew 10 years ago or 5 years ago or last year or 6 months ago is largely continued to move. And, I think it's always for a positive. I take every little piece of, okay, in this specific diet regimen, this piece worked well, but this didn't. And then now in this new one, I'm kind of blending them together. And even on this keto diet, I'm not perfect. I call it like keto cycling.
It's more low carb, high fat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really more what it is.
People are just all saying they're on keto, but is it really keto? Or I don't think you can when you're training that high volume. I think it's more of a LCHF, low carb, high fat athlete that's just, we're low carb athletes. And we're just trying to balance our blood sugar. And that's what I keep
Yeah.
talking about on our show. And that's why I continue doing more and more episodes on nutrition and collagen and bone broth, and teach people that instead of just talking about swim, bike, run training and strength training. But on this show, I'm trying to help triathletes and endurance athletes learn about nutrition that we don't hear about in the magazines so much.
Sure.
Books that we read, because it is always changing, but everyone is bio-individual, and that's a key thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and especially in Ironman training, I mean, this year I've been more lean than I ever have been, mostly because of cycling focus and nutrition. I mean, it's definitely been big. I've been really good this year. I've hardly drank any booze at all. And like, I love a lot of different things, wine and beer and all vodka and all that. But I have been really good this year of, as you get older, you understand the response to different types of foods and drinks and whatnot. So I've been really good to not hardly drink a lick, and it makes a difference. I mean, you can really, for me personally, I see a difference. But I tell you, the difference with it's ironic that I find Ironman training is harder. I've always found it's the hardest sport to train for. It's exhausting. It takes over your life. It changes your friends. It changes everything. I mean, it really does. And for better and for worse. I've literally had friends that have just gone weird, where I'm like, I don't want to hang out with you anymore.
I know, it's true.
And I've known way too many people to get big into Ironman. Next thing you know, they'll only hang out with Ironman people and everybody else are dumb.
It is a problem.
It is. And I get it. I've been there. I totally get it. But I tell you, one of the biggest problems I found with Ironman training for me personally is that I never lost all that much weight. If anything, I often was like a little bit chunkier, toeing the line. And I think it's because you are committing so much of your life to it that you eliminate so many of your friends and outside variables just to be able to keep up with the training. Then you get back, you're like, I biked for 7 hours today. I swam for an hour and a half. I ran for a half an hour. I'm going to eat everything in this house, and it's going to be justified. But you can't. That's just not how it works. So not if you want to actually lose weight. Where I find that if I go out and I do a 7-hour gravel bike ride, maybe I'll have a beer afterwards, and I'll eat a healthy dinner now. But I won't eat a extra large pizza. But I would after a 7-hour bike ride, an hour and a half swim, and maybe a little brick run afterwards. So, I think that Ironman, at least a lot of people I know have all had the same battles I have, is it's really tough to find the proper nutrition for Ironman. And I think everybody gets way too focused on the training for the athletic aspect, but not the meal training. I think that's probably more important than anything.
Yes. Well, it totally explains what I wrote my manual, the holistic method manual and workbook, because there's not just exercise. To perform your best is not just exercise and nutrition. We've got the sleep, stress, movement, gut health, digestion, hydration, and happiness. And all those elements are so essential to really being healthy from the inside out for triathletes and everybody. And I find it's so funny because everything you just said was so true, because I always say you can't out-exercise a bad diet. How many Ironmans have you gone and watched? No offense, people, but there's a lot of overweight people on that race. And that's why it makes me podcast and coach and become, I want to do more nutritional therapy for our triathletes and teach people, you can't just eat that way just because you worked out. If I really burned off I rode 72 miles on Saturday and rode Sunday. If I really had the equation 3,500 calories equaled 1 pound, we'd be I'd be losing weight so much. And all the training I did for Ironman, if the calorie equals a calorie, if 3,500 calories equals a pound, I'd be rail thin. It doesn't, it's just what you eat. It's your stress level, your blood sugar, and there's so much more to it. So I think nutrition and everything we talk about in the show really is designed to help you improve performance, because it's not just how you train and at what heart rate, but
totally
it is. But it also, I'll finish up with that happiness part. I know so many people, including myself, I didn't get married till I was 35, because 25, I started doing triathlons and marathons, and I only hung out with triathletes, and they're all 7 years old now to 80. Because they're all my parents' age. Because there wasn't many people my age racing, and I was that type A, still I'm type A, but competitive athlete that, you're just training. And it was exactly, I go swim hour and a half in the morning, then we do our 5 to 7 hour bike ride, 30-minute run. I get home. Last thing I want to do is go out. single girl at home Saturday night every weekend because I did my socializing on the bike behind 3 bike lengths behind someone else.
Sure, yeah. Yep.
So anyways, it was great conversation. We had you on to talk about orange mud and hydration. So I think we talked somewhere in the middle of the show about that, but it just happened to be a great talk to bring up Leadville 100 mountain bike and hear the other side. Cause I know I love 50K trail running and it is such a different world, trail running. So if you're a triathlete, you've never done any dirt running, trail running is pretty fun. Everyone is friendly and inviting and it's non-clicky and, it's just such a great sport. So I like to hear the other side of it. My favorite race is North Face 50K, but I wanted to do Colorado.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do the North Face 50K.
The one Marin Headlands I did 5 years in a row, but that was just, even when I wasn't able to run, I'd just be looking around. It's just the most beautiful one. So if you want to do a 50K trail run, it's always, I think they just moved it, but first weekend in December, San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. But anyways, good luck this weekend and hopefully you can have a good run and rest up afterwards and do some non-weight bearing activity to heal your metatarsals. Then we need to look at why you're having fractures metatarsals, what your training program nutrition is for you.
I know. Yeah. We'll find out. Podiatrist, I did go to a podiatrist last year. He said my metatarsals have a small gap. And he's like, you're not really you don't do a lot of endurance sports, right? I'm like, only like, a couple hundred races.
I live in Colorado, doesn't everybody?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm looking back like, maybe I should listen to him and do just like 50Ks or something instead. So
we're stubborn athletes.
Yeah. I would love to figure it out. I'd love to get to the root. So yeah, if there's anybody out there that's a podiatrist that knows everything about feet and ultra running, feel free to reach out.
I would also suggest nutritional therapy because we look at why are you getting fractures, which is another blog I started to write, osteoporosis, why are you not? We all have enough calcium, but are you getting enough out of it? So it could be just simple thing, stomach acid. You might not have enough stomach acid because it gets depleted from stress and dominant. So having apple cider vinegar and water before you eat might help, or have an HCl supplement. Get that calcium out of your food, improve digestion of your proteins, which help break down the amino acids and enzymes. So there's your tip.
I'm down. I'm up for anything.
So have some apple cider vinegar in your water this week and heal up. So,
I'll try. Make some salsa. I'll put some apple cider vinegar in salsa.
Salsa. Oh yeah, salsa. That'd be interesting.
Oh, it tastes great.
Have an avocado with that. Get your potassium.
Yep, I do that a lot.
Good. All right. Give us your links where people can find you. And it's orangemud.com to find the bags, the hydration packs.
Yeah, orangemud.com and Orange Mud and social media everywhere. Facebook, Google+, Instagram, Twitter. And just look me up, Josh Sprague, anywhere online. I'm pretty easy to find.
Well, it was great talking to you. We kind of went over. We usually drive 30, 45 minutes, but you just got to share all your stories. Hopefully people are entertained for our hour today.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.